Chosen one, stop scrolling and listen carefully. This is not a soft message. It isn't here to comfort you. This is a divine interruption, and it carries weight. God is not whispering anymore. This is direct, sharp, and urgent. You didn't arrive here by accident. And this is not just another motivational video you can half watch and forget. Something is being addressed in your life right now, and your attention is being pulled because heaven is making sure you don't miss the moment. Here's a truth most people avoid. For a long time, many have tried to be clever with God, negotiating, delaying, and nodding yes while quietly doing the opposite, and the reason it keeps happening is because, for a season, things still looked fine. The bills still got paid. The body still held up. The relationships didn't collapse overnight. So the warnings were dismissed, and delay started to feel harmless. But this message exists because that grace period is ending. Not because God is cruel, because God is precise. And because wisdom without humility becomes rebellion, and spiritual knowledge without obedience becomes dangerous. This is not about fear. It's about responsibility. Now listen closely, because this part is for you. You are highly aware, sharp-minded, spiritually sensitive. You notice patterns that others miss. You feel shifts before they become visible. And that is exactly why this warning is intense, because your awareness makes you accountable. God is saying, do not be smart with me. Not because God is threatened by your intellect, but because this is no longer the season to test boundaries, bend instructions, or assume protection will automatically cover deliberate delay. You are standing at a crossroads right now. One road is alignment, and the other is resistance. And the difference between them is not a mood. It's a destiny. Alignment brings acceleration. Resistance brings exposure. If you listen now, things will begin to move quickly. Clarity will replace confusion. Closed doors will unlock. The heaviness you couldn't explain will lift. The fog will break. Your next step will stop feeling like a gamble and start feeling like guidance. But if you dismiss this moment, God will not interfere with your choice. Not as punishment, because free will is real, because love does not force, because heaven will warn you, but it will not drag you. This is education, not drama. This is divine order. And divine order requires obedience before elevation. That urgency you feel in your chest right now, that pressure in your spirit, that's not anxiety. That's recognition. That's your soul realizing, this is a turning point. If this message is hitting you, don't ignore that signal. Like this video to acknowledge what you've just heard. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Comment 99 to confirm you receive this fully, because this is not content to skim. This is a line being drawn. There comes a moment in every life when intelligence stops being enough and humility becomes the only doorway forward. And too often, we confuse cleverness with true understanding. Cleverness tries to solve everything through strategy, manipulation, shortcuts, and control. Cleverness wants outcomes without surrender. Cleverness wants fruit without roots. But wisdom is different. Wisdom listens before it moves. Wisdom doesn't just ask, can I? It asks, should I? Wisdom doesn't rush ahead to prove it's capable. Wisdom waits until it's aligned. So if you've been feeling inner unrest, if you've been repeating the same mistakes, if you've had an unusual sense of being off track, those are not coincidences. Those are subtle alarms. That's mercy speaking in signals before consequences speak in storms. It's life handing you a red flag before the sky turns black, asking you to pause and reconsider your path while you still can. Acting smart without reflection can feel powerful, but it's often just fear wearing a crown. It's impatience pretending to be confidence. It's ego trying to stay in control, and many brilliant people, gifted people, have faced the harshest lessons not because they were evil, but because they overestimated their ability to navigate life alone. They were sure they could outthink the consequences. They were sure they could delay and still stay covered. They were sure they could keep one foot in obedience and one foot in compromise and not slip. But listen, there is a difference between a temporary win and a lasting alignment. Cleverness reacts. Wisdom responds. Cleverness may create a momentary victory, But wisdom builds a future that doesn't collapse. Cleverness can impress people. Wisdom protects purpose. Cleverness can get you applause. Wisdom keeps you clean. Cleverness makes noise. Wisdom makes progress. So hear this clearly. This warning is not a threat. It is protection. God interrupts you before your unchecked momentum turns into loss you didn't see coming. And that interruption is grace. Grace is not just forgiveness, it is prevention. Grace is God saying, "Stop here. Don't take another step blind." Grace is heaven pulling your sleeve before you walk into a door that locks behind you, and don't think danger always arrives as chaos and drama. Sometimes it comes quietly, disguised as routine, disguised as confidence without awareness, disguised as "I've got time," disguised as a subtle detachment from your inner guidance. A path becomes dangerous when your actions are no longer consciously aligned with purpose, when small compromises feel normal, when reflection gets skipped, when habit replaces discernment. That's how people drift. Not in one dramatic fall, but in tiny steps. A delayed apology, a postponed decision, a stretched truth, a quiet addiction, a repeated excuse, a later that keeps becoming never. And most people don't notice the drift until it manifests as confusion, stagnation, heaviness, missed opportunities, and doors that no longer open the way they used to. So if you've been asking, why does it feel like I'm stuck? If you've been wondering, why is everything taking longer? If you've been feeling, why do I have this weight I can't explain? Hear me. It may not be because you're cursed. It may be because you're being corrected. It may be because heaven is calling you back into order before you go too far off course, because elevation doesn't begin with excitement. It begins with surrender. Promotion doesn't begin with applause. It begins with alignment. And the next level of your life isn't going to be accessed by being smarter, faster, louder, or more strategic. It's going to be accessed by being humbler, cleaner, clearer, and obedient fully. So don't smart talk God. Don't negotiate with instructions you already understand. Don't delay what your spirit has already confirmed. Don't keep testing boundaries and calling it discernment. If God has been telling you to release something, release it. If God has been telling you to stop going back, stop going back. If God has been telling you to forgive, to apologize, to repent, to rebuild, to get serious, this is your moment, because at this crossroads, one decision sets off acceleration and the other sets off exposure, and I need you to understand something. God will still love you either way, but love doesn't cancel consequence. Love warns you so you don't learn the hard way. Love speaks now so you don't bleed later. So take this seriously. Let this be the moment you stop coasting and start obeying. Let this be the moment you stop calling delay timing and start calling it what it is. Let this be the moment you stop relying solely on your intellect and start tuning into higher guidance that sees beyond your blind spots. Because chosen one, this isn't random. This isn't an accident. This isn't just a video. This is a line being drawn in the spirit. And the door forward isn't unlocked by cleverness. It's unlocked by humility. Repeated setbacks, emotional fatigue, that dull heaviness you can't explain. By the time most people feel those symptoms, the warning lights have already been flashing for a while. And that's what makes the red flags so dangerous. The longer they're ignored, the harder they become to correct. Imagine walking down a road that looks solid until you realize there are cracks hidden beneath a layer of leaves. Every step feels safe right up until the moment the ground gives way. That's how spiritual drift works. People assume momentum guarantees safety. They trust appearances over truth. Repetition over reflection. The path may not have changed, but their connection to awareness has weakened. And when awareness weakens, even familiar roads become risky. That's why intervention matters, whether it comes through a sign, a message, a sudden pause in your spirit, or a quiet inner knowing that won't leave you alone. Not to scare you, to awaken you, because seeing subtle danger early gives you power. It gives you the ability to change direction while the road is still open. Awareness is not just information, it's protection. Insight is not just knowledge, it's freedom. And recognizing that something is off before disaster strikes isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. Every soul that walks with purpose learns one truth. Subtlety can be more dangerous than obvious threats. A loud enemy makes you alert. A quiet drift makes you careless. That's why early correction is a gift, because it saves you from a lesson that could have cost you years. And listen, faith and chance get confused in the human mind all the time. Chance guesses, faith trusts. Relying on luck, coincidences, or random confirmations might feel comforting at first, but it slowly erodes discernment. Many people start hunting for signs everywhere: numbers on clocks, repeated encounters, sudden events, while ignoring the clearest guidance already available. Intuition, reflection, wisdom you've already learned, and that inner voice that keeps repeating the same instruction. Because the truth is, when you keep waiting for external validation, you quietly surrender your power. You slow your growth. You outsource your direction. Think about nature. Nothing meaningful runs on luck. A tree doesn't grow by coincidence, it grows by law. Sunlight, water, nourishment, seasons, roots. Predictable order, and spiritual growth works the same way. It requires consistency, conscious alignment, attentive listening. Life doesn't operate on chance. Guidance is precise, timely, available if you're willing to recognize it. Relying on random signals is like trying to navigate a ship through fog without consulting the compass. You might still move forward, yes, but you can drift into unseen hazards without realizing it. That's why this message carries urgency. Protection and insight are present, but they cannot be accessed through guesswork. You don't mature spiritually by chasing sparks. You mature by following truth. And when you move deliberately, grounded in awareness, aligned with higher wisdom, doors that once seemed hidden begin to open naturally. Not because you forced them, because you finally matched the frequency of the path. That's what conscious guidance does. It transforms fear into confidence and uncertainty into clarity. Timing matters more than people understand. True guidance doesn't usually arrive after failure, it arrives before consequences become irreversible. That's what this is: a lifeline, a gentle but urgent call to turn before you reach the point of no return. Because if you're honest, most of us have lived the same story. We felt an uneasy feeling, saw repeated cues, noticed synchronicities, received a small warning, and we brushed it off. I'm fine. It's nothing. I'll deal with it later. And later turned into damage. But hear this: prevention is always more compassionate than repair. And the universe is most merciful when it intervenes early. The significance of this moment is its rarity. Not every soul receives a warning before misalignment becomes dangerous. Some people only learn through loss, through collapse, through regret. But you are being warned while correction is still possible. And recognizing that is not weakness, it's intelligence. It's courage. Life tests us not to punish us, but to teach us. And early intervention is the difference between struggle and mastery, between repeating the same cycle and stepping into lasting transformation. The opportunity is being offered. What matters is whether you heed it or dismiss it. Being pulled back right now is a gift. It's awareness reaching for you. It's the signal that change is still possible, that direction can be corrected without cost, that the path toward higher purpose is still open. So reflect for a second. How many times has guidance arrived just in time? How often did it prevent a mistake you were about to make? How many times did clarity show up right when chaos tried to swallow you? That wasn't luck. That was protection. And that's what this message offers you. Alignment before a fall. Awareness before impact, a turning point before the damage becomes permanent. Because life has seasons where mistakes are easily corrected and seasons where precision becomes crucial. And right now, whether you can fully see it or not, this is a season of high influence and accelerated growth. The choices you make, the attention you give, and the awareness you cultivate carry far more weight than you realize. So don't treat this like background noise. This is one of those moments where the smallest correction can change your entire trajectory, and if you're feeling that urgency in your spirit, good. It means you're awake. Small steps, tiny habits, quiet decisions you barely notice, they ripple through your life with more power than random events ever could. And in a season like this, unconscious movement becomes dangerous. Because right now, who you listen to, which doors you walk through, which opportunities you accept, and how you respond under pressure doesn't just affect your day. It shapes your direction. This is a moment where every decision carries amplified consequences, not because life is unfair, but because timing is charged with potential. One careless yes can cost you months. One delayed correction can cost you years. And one aligned decision can accelerate progress so fast it feels like heaven cleared the road overnight. That's why precision matters. Awareness now prevents long seasons of struggle later. The key is not to rush, it's to move with consciousness. Slow down, observe, reflect, align each step with purpose and insight. Moving recklessly is not courage. It's surrendering clarity to habit. But acting thoughtfully, listening deeply, integrating wisdom into every choice causes growth to accelerate naturally. Life is offering you a rare window of alignment. Acknowledge it, honor it, let it guide your steps. Because when we drift from awareness, reflection, and spiritual grounding, something subtle begins to form inside us: emptiness. Not dramatic at first, not obvious, just a quiet hollowing. This isn't about fear. It's about a spiritual law. Energy moves where attention flows. And when attention abandons inner alignment, gaps appear, gaps in focus, clarity, purpose. Those gaps don't stay empty. They get filled with confusion, with distraction, with voices that sound confident but don't serve your highest good. Think of it like a garden. When you stop tending it, weeds grow faster than flowers, not because weeds are stronger, but because attention is absent. And many people don't realize this is how their life becomes heavy: constant distraction, unchecked habits, surface-level thinking. These things quietly weaken judgment and intuition. Then the symptoms show up: emotional fatigue, indecision, repeating the same painful cycles, feeling off without knowing why. When your spirit is disconnected, even small choices can steer you into directions that feel burdensome, confusing, and misaligned. But here's the turning point. Recognizing the emptiness is the first act of power. Restoration begins with awareness and deliberate action, because you don't fix misalignment by wishing harder. You fix it by returning to the center, by filling that inner space with something real. Reflection, prayer, meditation, stillness, journaling, scripture, and gratitude, whatever anchor you back into truth. And understand this: empty space is not your enemy. Empty space is an opportunity. Like cleaning a room before you arrange it, clearing internal clutter makes room for clarity and protection to flow. When attention returns, life shifts from reaction to alignment, from chaos to order, from drifting to direction. Now listen, because this next part is spiritual and practical. Throughout history, cultures and spiritual traditions have recognized certain hours as sacred, especially for reflection, prayer, and renewal. The pre-dawn hours, often spoken of as 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., carry a unique stillness. The world is quieter, the mind is less crowded, and subtle insight rises more easily when noise fades. It's like the atmosphere itself becomes receptive. Imagine it: the entire world asleep and you're awake, not frantic, not doom-scrolling, just present, receptive listening. That's when thoughts become clearer, decisions feel lighter, guidance feels less like a struggle and more like a knowing. In those hours, direction can arrive through intuition, a sudden clarity, a calm conviction, an idea that lands with peace instead of pressure. Neglecting that window is like ignoring the sunrise. The light is there, but you let darkness linger longer than necessary. Using that time intentionally is a practice of alignment. Even a few minutes, 5 minutes of focused reflection, prayer, or journaling can shift your entire day, because the universe respects presence. Heaven responds to readiness. When you dedicate that sacred window to restoration, you cultivate clarity, protection, and insight that ripple far beyond the early morning hours. And this connects directly to how divine communication works, because communication from the divine higher guidance manifests in layers. The first layer is subtle. Signs and synchronicities, numbers, coincidences, patterns, hints in daily life. These are gentle nudges, low-level signals meant to steer awareness, helpful, yes, but here where many people get trapped. They rely on signs as if signs are a substitute for obedience. They keep waiting for one more confirmation instead of moving with discernment. They become spectators in their own destiny, scanning the sky for permission while ignoring the instruction already written in their spirit. Signs can guide you, but they cannot replace conscious alignment. The second layer is through people, mentors, guides, unexpected messengers, even strangers whose words hit you like a mirror. Sometimes God will send a sentence through someone's mouth that feels like it was aimed directly at your soul. Not to impress you, to position you, to correct you, to protect you. And there is a deeper layer still, the inner witness, the quiet knowing that doesn't shout, doesn't argue, doesn't beg for attention, but remains steady. That's the level where maturity lives, where you stop living by hints and start living by truth, where you don't need fireworks to obey. You don't need chaos to change. You don't need to hit rock bottom to return to alignment. And chosen one, that's the level you're being called into now, because this isn't a season for unconscious movement. It's a season for precision. It's a season where small choices carry big outcomes. So protect your attention like it's sacred, because it is. Protect your mornings. Protect your focus. Protect your spirit. Stop letting random voices steer your direction. Stop letting habit make decisions for you. Slow down. Listen. Align. And when the next decision comes, whether it looks small or trivial, treat it like a doorway, because in a season like this, one aligned step can change everything. Friends, mentors, sometimes even strangers, can become messengers at the exact right moment, appearing with insight you didn't know you needed. This is an intermediate layer of guidance. Lessons delivered through human interaction, shared wisdom, and timely conversations that feel almost orchestrated. But this kind of guidance requires something from you. It requires an open heart. It requires receptivity. Because if you're guarded, cynical, or closed off, the message can arrive and still never reach you. When you learn to recognize what God is saying through people, your discernment deepens and your intuition strengthens. You stop seeing encounters as random and start recognizing patterns as direction. But there is a higher level. The highest form of communication isn't external at all. It's internal, direct guidance through thought, intuition, conviction, and heightened perception. At this level, insight doesn't feel forced. It feels automatic. Clarity rises like light. Solutions appear without strain. You just know. Not because you guessed, but because you're aligned. This is what many call a sixth sense, spiritual intuition, and reaching this level isn't magic, it's preparation. It's focus. It's restoration. Because when your spirit is rested and your mind is quiet, guidance becomes clear. And when guidance is clear, you move with confidence, harmony, and purpose. Now listen closely, because this is where many people lose their momentum. Procrastination and hesitation aren't just lost time. They're missed windows, and spiritual evolution, like any form of growth, operates on timing. Delay creates inertia. Inertia creates repetition. Repetition creates frustration. That's why some people keep cycling through the same lessons, asking the same questions, praying the same prayers, searching the same answers, because they keep postponing the one step that would break the pattern. Think of life like a ladder. Every rung prepares you for the next. And when you refuse to move, you don't stay safe. You stay stuck. Delaying reflection, restoration, or alignment reinforces doubt. It strengthens confusion. It teaches your spirit indecision as a lifestyle. Every step taken in awareness accelerates progress. Every step delayed adds weight to old habits. And old habits don't just hold you back, they start to feel normal. That's the danger. So yes, this message is urgent, but it's not panic. It's purpose. Act now, because growth compounds. The moment you engage with clarity, deliberate attention, spiritual discipline, and real alignment, momentum begins to build naturally. Delay isn't fatal, but it creates unnecessary friction. It makes your next level slower, harder, and less certain. Timing and readiness are intertwined. When you respond promptly, the journey becomes smoother. When you hesitate, you don't just pause, you drift. And here's a truth that will sharpen your discernment. Every opportunity for spiritual upgrade has a cost and a window. When that window closes, what was meant to lift you can be postponed or diminished, not as punishment, but as consequence. Just like a train schedule. If you miss it, the train doesn't hate you. It just leaves. Spiritual readiness works the same way. Preparation is required. Engagement is required. Neglecting it risks missing the timing, the clarity, the open doors that were available in this precise moment. That's why restoration is not abstract. It's practical. Reconnecting through reflection, mindfulness, prayer, meditation, whatever grounds you, strengthens your awareness and realigns you with higher possibility. Think about it like preparing for an exam or a presentation. The time you invest in preparation directly shapes the outcome. Restoration is the preparation of the spirit. It's how you become ready to recognize what's meant for you and to carry what's coming without collapsing under it. Acting now is an investment in your future self because the transformation waiting for you isn't theoretical. It's tangible. Your decisions will feel clearer. Your intuition will sharpen. Your progress will feel more effortless, not because life becomes easy, but because you stop fighting guidance. Restoration gives you back your compass, and ignoring it delays not only growth, but also the peace, direction, and fulfillment that come with alignment. Now let's talk about a trap that masquerades as strength. Isolation. Isolation often feels like independence, but it can quietly become a cage. When you cut yourself off from guidance, mentors, friends, wise voices, and even your own inner wisdom, you increase the chances of repeating mistakes and missing opportunities. Life is rarely meant to be navigated entirely alone. Every person, every experience, every conversation can become a channel for insight if your heart stays open and your spirit stays teachable. Solitude can be holy when it brings you back to God. But isolation becomes dangerous when it becomes avoidance, because acting alone might feel empowering in the moment, but it often narrows perspective. It blocks correction. It makes you interpret everything through a single lens, your own, and that lens can become distorted when you're tired, wounded, or impatient, and this is why listening matters. Not passive listening, active listening with humility, listening with attentiveness, listening with discernment, watching patterns. Reflecting on results, noticing what keeps repeating, and asking, what is this trying to teach me? True listening is a spiritual skill. It's how you detect alignment before you see evidence. Think of it like sailing. Even the most skilled captain needs wind, current, and navigational cues to reach the destination safely. Ignore the signals, whether it's subtle intuition, timely advice, or divine insight, and progress slows. Risk rises, and the journey becomes unnecessarily hard. So here's the line being drawn. Stop confusing stubbornness with strength. Stop confusing isolation with independence. Stop confusing delay with discernment. You're being guided through people, through patterns, through inner knowing. But guidance only helps the one who responds. So if you feel this in your spirit, don't just agree, move. Because when you listen and act, you don't just avoid danger. You accelerate destiny. Now is the moment to practice openness actively, not emotionally. Stop trying to carry the whole map alone. Stop treating life like a puzzle you must solve in isolation. Integrate guidance into every decision. When you consciously seek wisdom and actually listen to it, your life becomes intentional, aligned, and protected. Breakthroughs don't always arrive through struggle. Sometimes they arrive through collaboration, human and spiritual, when you finally allow support to shape your path instead of resisting it. And listen, this is where many people get stuck. They fall into the habit of chasing signs. Repeated numbers, coincidences, confirmations. As if patterns in the air are supposed to dictate their choices. But signs are not the source of guidance. Signs are reminders to pay attention. They're spiritual highlighters, not spiritual instructions. True clarity isn't built on chance, it's built on alignment, on reflection, on obedience, on awareness, because divine guidance already sees the outcomes long before you do. And that's why seeking signs can become a trap. It can create a false sense of security, like you're doing something while you're actually delaying the one thing that matters: decisive action. People analyze, interpret, wait, recheck, overthinks. They treat every coincidence like a contract. And while reflection is necessary, over-reliance on confirmation locks you into uncertainty, turns your faith into hesitation. Life does not require you to guess your way forward. It asks you to trust your preparation, trust your intuition, trust the connection you've been strengthening. Signs can support you, but they cannot substitute for discernment. They guide, they do not dictate. They nudge, they do not decide. Here's the deeper lesson. Clarity comes from alignment, not prediction. When you turn inward, when you trust the quiet knowing, when you bring conscious awareness into every choice, you access a level of understanding that signs alone will never give you. The future isn't a mystery you need to fear. It's a canvas for intentional action guided by insight, presence, and higher wisdom. And this is why this moment matters. Every moment carries influence. Even small choices, tiny actions, casual neglect, a lapse in attention can ripple farther than you can see. Life responds not only to what you do, but to what you ignore. One decision can accelerate growth. One careless response can open the door to setbacks. The difference is rarely luck. The difference is awareness. And when I say you're under threat, don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about dramatic danger or paranoia. I'm talking about the seriousness of mindfulness. It's like walking a tightrope. Not because life wants you to fall, because this season requires balance. Each step requires attention, focus, and inner stability. If you treat this season casually, you wobble. If you move with aligned awareness, you advance. That's why critical moments show up not to scare you, but to elevate your consciousness before consequences manifest. Immediate action matters. Reflection matters. Restoration matters. One misstep doesn't define your journey, but consistent attention protects you from unnecessary struggle. And when you approach life as a conscious participant, you maximize growth, minimize error, and create the conditions for clarity, insight, and spiritual elevation. Awareness turns potential threats into transformative opportunities. And sometimes this is important. Guidance doesn't arrive to punish you. It arrives to rescue you, to redirect you, to accelerate you. Because when you move forward without attention, momentum can carry you back into old cycles, repetition, confusion, unproductive patterns that feel like bad luck, but are actually misalignment. Guidance interrupts that momentum on purpose, creates space, a pause, a holy interruption, a moment where you can breathe, reflect, restore, and realign before the curve gets too sharp. Think of it like a steering correction while the car is still stable, a compassionate course adjustment offered while it can still be accepted easily. Life is always giving cues, but subtle guidance is often ignored until difficulty forces attention. Being called back now is a gift. It means you still have time to strengthen the foundation before building higher. It means the next level is available, but it requires alignment to hold it. And hear this clearly. Stepping back is not regression. It's preparation for advancement. It's wisdom. It's courage. It's maturity. Because when you pause to restore connection through prayer, stillness, journaling, reflection, you're taking responsibility for your path instead of leaving it to chance or habit. You're saying, I won't drift. I won't guess. I will walk deliberately. And yes, sometimes the universe, life, divine guidance intervenes before harm occurs. Not as punishment, as protection. These interruptions are rarely dramatic. They're subtle, persistent, sometimes frustrating, especially to people addicted to momentum. But they exist because the trajectory you were on could have led to unnecessary difficulty, stagnation, or misalignment if left uncorrected. So if you've been feeling blocked, delayed, interrupted, don't only ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this saving me from? Because chosen one, this isn't a setback. It's a safeguard. And if you respond with awareness, if you stop chasing signs and start living aligned, this interruption won't slow you down. It will realign you and then accelerate you. Recognizing these interruptions as gifts changes everything, because the moment you stop resisting the pause, you start receiving what the pause was carrying. Life moves in cycles: acceleration and stillness. Momentum can feel powerful, intoxicating even. But unchecked momentum doesn't just move you forward, it can carry you into the same mistakes with a faster speed. It can rush you past lessons you were meant to integrate. It can drag you over warning signs you were meant to honor. So when life interrupts you, don't treat it like sabotage. Treat it like calibration. It's a natural mechanism designed to align your energy, attention, and action with purpose. Like a gentle hand on the shoulder, redirecting you, correcting you, preserving your progress without letting you collapse. And when you embrace these moments, they stop being obstacles. They become catalysts. They create space to restore clarity, integrate wisdom, and strengthen alignment. They turn delay into direction, because momentum plus awareness becomes transformation. Momentum without awareness becomes destruction, quiet, gradual, unintended. Now hear this, because this is where many people mislabel their struggle. A lot of people confuse independence with wisdom. Independence feels like strength, creates speed. It builds self-reliance. It gives you the sensation of control. And there is a place for that. But when independence becomes disconnection from guidance, it shifts. It stops being strength and becomes disobedience. Wisdom is balance, the ability to act with courage, but also to listen with humility. Acting alone without reflection doesn't prove intelligence. It often undermines true understanding. History is full of people who believed their independence made them invincible and then stumbled because they ignored subtle correction. Even leaders, innovators, and visionaries, those who changed the world, often speak about mentors, pivotal pauses, unexpected detours, inner warnings, and sacred moments of stillness that steered their success. They didn't win because they never listened. They won because they listened early. Ignoring cues isn't courage. It's missed protection. Independence without alignment is an illusion. It can bring temporary satisfaction, but long-term misdirection. And divine guidance is not restrictive. It's protective. When you act without listening, life isn't testing your brilliance, it's testing your humility. Because disobedience doesn't always look like rebellion. Sometimes it disguises itself as efficiency. Sometimes it disguises itself as, I'm just moving fast. Sometimes it disguises itself as, I don't have time to slow down. But speed without discernment doesn't make you powerful. It makes you vulnerable. And recognizing the difference between independence and wisdom is the first step toward true empowerment. The path to alignment requires surrender, reflection, and active listening. Real wisdom doesn't cancel initiative, it refines it. It integrates your drive with higher insight. And when your independence is informed by discernment, it becomes a vehicle for growth, protection, and clarity, not a trap that leads to confusion. Because spiritual growth has its own rhythm, but life often accelerates around you. And when your inner awareness lags behind the pace of life, even small risks can compound. That's why some people feel stuck spiritually while the world keeps testing them. Challenges multiply, distractions get louder, and pressure increases. That imbalance creates vulnerability. It's not always obvious, but it's real. Delayed alignment opens doors to influences that drain you, tempt you, confuse you, or pull you away from purpose. And missed opportunities don't always announce themselves, they simply pass. Think of spiritual speed like a river. When the current quickens but your movement stays sluggish, obstacles appear faster than you can navigate. Challenges hit quicker than your discernment can respond. Misleading paths multiply. And if you're not moving with awareness, you start drifting, not because you're weak, but because you're unprepared for the acceleration. But listen, slowing down is not failure. Slowing down is a signal. It's an invitation to restore your energy, your attention, and your connection. Reflection, prayer, Meditation, journaling, these aren't extras. They are how your inner rhythm catches up to life's pace. The effort to realign now prevents future setbacks. It creates momentum that's clean. It creates forward motion that doesn't break you on arrival. So the lesson is clear. Synchronize your inner world with the demands of your outer life. When spiritual speed and awareness accelerate together, protection expands. Insight increases. Opportunity becomes visible. Doors open naturally because you're ready to recognize them and wise enough to walk through them. But ignoring the gap, acting fast while your spirit is slow, intensifies confusion, delay, and vulnerability. Now this is important. Fear can signal caution, but not every warning is fear-based. Divine prevention feels different than fear. Fear exaggerates. Fear panics. Fear paralyzes. Fear makes everything feel like a threat. But divine prevention is subtle, precise, protective. It doesn't scream to terrify you, it nudges to guide you. It doesn't trap you in anxiety, it creates space for reflection and realignment. Sometimes life slows you down not to punish you, but to prevent unnecessary loss. To stop you from stepping into something you're not meant to carry. To block a decision that would have cost you peace. Think back to moments when intuition warned you, and you didn't understand why. You delayed. You hesitated. You were frustrated. And later you realized that postponement saved you. It rescued you from a deal that would have drained you, a relationship that would have broken you, a path that would have distracted you, a choice that would have multiplied stress. That's divine prevention. So if you're feeling slowed, redirected, interrupted, don't instantly call it bad luck. Ask, is this protection? Ask, is this correction? Ask, is this life preserving my progress? Because chosen one, sometimes what feels like a pause is actually mercy. And if you respond with humility instead of resistance, that pause won't just protect you. It will position you. And once you're positioned, acceleration becomes safe. Divine prevention works the same way. Those subtle interruptions, the delayed opportunity, the strange hesitation, you can't explain the plan that should have worked, but didn't. These aren't always setbacks. Sometimes they are invitations to pause. And that pause isn't punishment, it's a protective buffer. It's space created on purpose, so insight can surface before a mistake becomes irreversible. Most people misread these moments. They call them bad timing, frustration, rejection, or missed chances. But in truth, many of these pauses are acts of grace, redirecting your energy, your attention, and your action back toward alignment. Recognizing divine prevention is spiritual literacy. It's learning how to read the language of protection. And the moment you start recognizing it, life becomes clearer and less chaotic. Your decisions improve. Your intuition strengthens. Your momentum stops scattering. It starts aligning with higher purpose. Because divine prevention is never punitive. It is the universe saying, you are being prepared. You are being protected. You are being positioned for your best next step. Now listen, this is where many people sabotage themselves without realizing it. Resistance often feels like persistence. It feels like courage. It feels like hustle. It feels like, I'm not giving up. But forcing a path that isn't aligned doesn't create progress, it creates friction. Friction drains energy, clouds judgment. It turns your life into a cycle of struggle that looks like determination on the outside but feels like heaviness on the inside. Life has rhythms. Some opportunities aren't ready yet. Others are no longer meant for you. And when doors close, it's not always to block you. Often, it's to guide you, to redirect you away from what will cost you peace, away from what will delay your purpose, away from what looks urgent but isn't actually aligned. Think of it like a key and a lock. No matter how hard you turn, the wrong key will never open the door. You can twist until your fingers ache. You can force until you break the key, but it still won't unlock because the match isn't there. And that's how life works. A relationship, a venture. An opportunity can feel urgent, but if it resists you at every turn, that resistance might not be challenge. It might be correction. It might be protection. It might be life saying, stop trying to open what isn't yours. Understanding this requires patience, discernment, humility, because forcing doors is often a symptom not of strength but of disconnection. It's impatience trying to stay in control. It's ego trying to prove it can make anything work. It's strategy without alignment. But when you step back, when you observe, when you reassess, you allow energy to flow naturally toward what is truly ready. And here's what's powerful. When you stop forcing, you don't lose momentum. You preserve it. You protect your time, your focus, your spiritual energy. And the moment you trust natural closures, clarity begins to rise. Doors that are meant to open will open often effortlessly when preparation, timing, and alignment converge. That's the difference between grinding and grace. Letting go of forced paths transforms frustration into understanding. It creates space for opportunity that is sustainable, protective, and harmonious with purpose. Now let's go deeper, because this is where your power actually lives. Intuition is the compass of the soul. But that compass only works when the connection is strong. When the connection is weak, intuition becomes muddy, unreliable, muted, and that's when people experience the same symptoms. Repeated uncertainty, conflicting impulses, feeling stuck, second-guessing everything, needing constant reassurance. It's not always because you're confused. It's often because you're out of alignment. And weak connection usually has a cause: distraction, disobedience, neglect of reflection, constant noise, social pressure, unaligned advice, reactive habits, emotional spirals, overconsumption, overthinking. These things drown out subtle inner signals. The intuition that once guided you effortlessly starts to fade. And when intuition fades, hesitation grows, self-doubt rises, and you begin to live from the mind's panic instead of the spirit's clarity. So restoration isn't poetic, it's practical and spiritual. Focused reflection, meditation, journaling, prayer, silent walks, mindful observation, even small daily practices like pausing before you react, breathing before you decide, checking your spirit before you speak, these rebuild the signal. They strengthen the inner line. They return authority to your intuition. And once that connection is restored, something changes. Decisions begin to flow. Challenges are navigated with foresight. Life starts to feel aligned instead of reactive. A strong connection transforms indecision into clarity, uncertainty into confidence, distraction into focus. Now listen, because this final truth is where many people misunderstand what God is doing. Silence often feels empty, even isolating. But silence can be one of the loudest messages. When life goes quiet, when the universe feels still, when divine guidance isn't giving you obvious answers, it is not always withdrawal. Sometimes it is a pause designed for reflection, recalibration, and preparation. Many people interpret silence as abandonment, but in truth, silence often means attention is required. It means your inner connection needs strengthening. It means insight is waiting beneath the noise. Think of silence as a teacher. A quiet room is where study takes root. And spiritual growth works the same way. When action, noise, and impulsivity dominate, the deeper lessons get missed. Silence creates the environment where awareness deepens, where patterns become visible, where truth rises without competition. So if you're in a silent season, don't panic. Don't chase noise to feel safe. Don't force a door just to feel movement. Honor the pause, because divine prevention isn't stopping you to shame you. It's stopping you to save you. It's preparing you so that when the right door opens, when the right moment arrives, you don't just step forward, you step forward clear, ready, aligned, and protected. Silence isn't comfortable on purpose. The discomfort of silence is intentional. It interrupts momentum, forces introspection, and pulls you back toward alignment with purpose. Because if life stayed loud all the time, you would never hear what matters. You'd stay busy, keep moving, keep producing while drifting further from the truth inside you. But when everything gets quiet, you can no longer hide behind motion. You can no longer outrun the questions. And that's why, chosen one, stop scrolling and listen carefully. This is not a soft message. It isn't here to comfort you. This is a divine interruption, and it carries weight. God is not whispering anymore. This is direct, sharp, and urgent. You didn't arrive here by accident. And this is not just another motivational video you can half watch and forget. Something is being addressed in your life right now, and your attention is being pulled because heaven is making sure you don't miss the moment. Here's a truth most people avoid. For a long time, many have tried to be clever with God, negotiating, delaying, and nodding yes while quietly doing the opposite, and the reason it keeps happening is because, for a season, things still looked fine. The bills still got paid. The body still held up. The relationships didn't collapse overnight. So the warnings were dismissed, and delay started to feel harmless. But this message exists because that grace period is ending. Not because God is cruel, because God is precise. And because wisdom without humility becomes rebellion, and spiritual knowledge without obedience becomes dangerous. This is not about fear. It's about responsibility. Now listen closely, because this part is for you. You are highly aware, sharp-minded, spiritually sensitive. You notice patterns that others miss. You feel shifts before they become visible. And that is exactly why this warning is intense, because your awareness makes you accountable. God is saying, do not be smart with me. Not because God is threatened by your intellect, but because this is no longer the season to test boundaries, bend instructions, or assume protection will automatically cover deliberate delay. You are standing at a crossroads right now. One road is alignment, and the other is resistance. And the difference between them is not a mood. It's a destiny. Alignment brings acceleration. Resistance brings exposure. If you listen now, things will begin to move quickly. Clarity will replace confusion. Closed doors will unlock. The heaviness you couldn't explain will lift. The fog will break. Your next step will stop feeling like a gamble and start feeling like guidance. But if you dismiss this moment, God will not interfere with your choice. Not as punishment, because free will is real, because love does not force, because heaven will warn you, but it will not drag you. This is education, not drama. This is divine order. And divine order requires obedience before elevation. That urgency you feel in your chest right now, that pressure in your spirit, that's not anxiety. That's recognition. That's your soul realizing, this is a turning point. If this message is hitting you, don't ignore that signal. Like this video to acknowledge what you've just heard. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Comment 99 to confirm you receive this fully, because this is not content to skim. This is a line being drawn. There comes a moment in every life when intelligence stops being enough and humility becomes the only doorway forward. And too often, we confuse cleverness with true understanding. Cleverness tries to solve everything through strategy, manipulation, shortcuts, and control. Cleverness wants outcomes without surrender. Cleverness wants fruit without roots. But wisdom is different. Wisdom listens before it moves. Wisdom doesn't just ask, can I? It asks, should I? Wisdom doesn't rush ahead to prove it's capable. Wisdom waits until it's aligned. So if you've been feeling inner unrest, if you've been repeating the same mistakes, if you've had an unusual sense of being off track, those are not coincidences. Those are subtle alarms. That's mercy speaking in signals before consequences speak in storms. It's life handing you a red flag before the sky turns black, asking you to pause and reconsider your path while you still can. Acting smart without reflection can feel powerful, but it's often just fear wearing a crown. It's impatience pretending to be confidence. It's ego trying to stay in control, and many brilliant people, gifted people, have faced the harshest lessons not because they were evil, but because they overestimated their ability to navigate life alone. They were sure they could outthink the consequences. They were sure they could delay and still stay covered. They were sure they could keep one foot in obedience and one foot in compromise and not slip. But listen, there is a difference between a temporary win and a lasting alignment. Cleverness reacts. Wisdom responds. Cleverness may create a momentary victory, but wisdom builds a future that doesn't collapse. Cleverness can impress people. Wisdom protects purpose. Cleverness can get you applause. Wisdom keeps you clean. Cleverness makes noise. Wisdom makes progress. So hear this clearly. This warning is not a threat. It is protection. God interrupts you before your unchecked momentum turns into loss you didn't see coming. And that interruption is grace. Grace is not just forgiveness, it is